Look at this weather. Ugh. Good morning. It's the end of March and we're starting to consider drying off our cow, and I'm going to do it nice and slow so that it is she doesn't have utter engorgement, no leaking. She doesn't suffer too much from being starved. So yeah, I know, I hear you, Clarabelle Dooley. So we're going to do quarter ration decrease. This is Clarabelle's bucket. It holds about 10 pounds, so we're going to take her down about a quarter. No more alfalfa because it's loaded in calcium. So we do a dairy ration for her and beet pulp. I kind of layer it like a lasagna. And a little bit of cracked corn. And a little bit of barley whole. And a mineral supplement. It's not much. It's about, I'll split this with the calf. She'll get about a tablespoon. So that bucket is normally level. So we're taking it down 1/4, and her milk should go down gradually. The plan with the drying off, as mentioned earlier, is to be gradual. The big risk with drying off is getting mastitis in the udder. So if the udder gets too engorged and starts to leak, that means if things can drip out, then things can get back in. And bacteria love milk. It's warm and delicious and full of sugar. And why wouldn't they like it? So, and you've got to keep their bedding very, very clean so they're not laying in poop if you can help it. And so I thought what I would do after doing a lot of research is take her slow, no abrupt withdrawals of milking or feed. She is a grain feeder. She came to us at 10 months of age and she was getting grain. And so we continue that because she really likes it. And it's a really good way to get a good milk production, a good reliable milk production out of her. We'll decrease her feed by 1/4 in the bucket morning and night. We'll do that for 5 days. Make sure she always has lots of water and extra hay, and that will keep her satisfied. I'm also doing a couple of very healthy, nutritious treats here and there. They love to get a few carrots or a few apples, so that brings them a lot of joy. So we're going to do that, and then after 5 days we're going to do that the same thing. We're going to decrease her grain ration to 1/2 of the bucket, so that's half ration, twice a day, morning and night, and we'll give her lots more hay and make sure she has lots of water, and her milk production should decline. Now we are actually in day 3. We started on Sunday and today is Wednesday, so we're starting day 4 of this, so I only have another couple of days to go at the quarter ration, and we're already seeing a decrease on day 2. We're seeing a decrease of 1 quart per milking, so that's good. And as time goes on, it'll just get less and less and less. And when we're down to half a ration, that's sort of this weekend, half a ration morning and night, we might even be able to skip evening milkings. If not, by the end of this week, certainly by the end of next week, we will skip night milkings, and we'll make sure that her teats are nice and clean after we milk in the morning, and we'll put a good amount of, iodine on them, and we'll carry on. Then after that, we will continue to milk in the mornings only, and we'll go down to 1/3 of a ration. She's going to be really hungry then, I'm sure. And we'll be able to skip every other day morning ration. So we'll do that over 6 days. So 3 days milking, 3 days not milking. We'll give her one last really big milk out, and then we'll stop milking abruptly at that point. Now her ration going forward, she'll switch over to a dry cow ration when she's at that period, and she'll get about, it's lower in protein and things, she'll get about what she got as a heifer calf. So probably a quarter to a third of that bucket will be her dry cow ration. She'll carry on that for the rest of the pregnancy. She's due in July, and here it is the very end of March. She'll carry on with that dry ration until she has calf, and then she'll switch over to a lactating or a dairy cow ration again, and the amounts will increase dramatically. And it's only the last couple of weeks of the pregnancy that her grain ration will be diminished a little bit more, just to make sure she doesn't get milk fever. So mastitis is a big cause, and you don't want them to get milk fever either. So I've removed her alfalfa because alfalfa is full of calcium, and I don't want milk fever to be an issue here either. So ready? Are you ready? There you go. So she's on half ration right now, and it's a dry cow ration instead of a dairy cow ration. And I'm just going to lock her in here so we can get her, if there's anything that needs to be cleaned out of here. And I'd like to check her udder. So she's been drying up for a couple of weeks. So now what I'm doing is, while she's tied up, I just want to check for the comfort of this rather engorged udder. I don't want to stimulate her to start dripping milk, so I don't want to squeeze anything or rub her. I just want to make sure that she's comfortable on all four quarters, and I'm going to do an iodine dip on those, and we're trying to keep her bedding as clean as possible so that there's no manure that gets on these teats, okay? But she's not as distended as she was even a few days ago, so it's starting to get a little bit better. So that's good. So this is a high-risk period, these 2 weeks now. So she hasn't been milked since Friday, so that's like 4 or 5 days ago. So I got another week and a bit to go. That's the high risk time for mastitis. But she looks good. That udder looks good. Day out here. Hey, good morning, everybody. We're here. Hi, sheep. Hi, sheep. How you doing? You all got big, glowing eyes. Hi, Clarabelle. Hi, Clarabelle, are you visiting with the sheep? She likes to visit with the sheep every morning, don't you? She likes to chat princess over there. Hi, Julie. Everybody hungry? We are going to talk today about how to build a stanchion. This was old wood taken from the barn, old fencing, whatever, and we've just repurposed it. You have to use heavy-duty wood because the cows are big animals, and a little bit of shifting and pushing can easily snap thin boards. So you definitely want to use something 1.5 inches thick for your all your wood. But you can repurpose old wood to make your stanchion. And I'm going to give you some measurements for each aspect of it so that you can build your own. All right? So here's the back end as the cow comes in, and we're looking at these 2 side rails. So the distance that the cow has to work in is 27 inches. But if you're measuring the distance between the 2 boards, it's 30. So 30 inches between these 2 boards here and 27 between these 2 here. It's 1.5 inches thick, and these boards are 5 inches deep. Okay. For length, 72 inches. This is an average size jersey. which would be suitable for that. You might want to add an inch or two on for a larger cow. Now, what's the distance from the bottom of this rail to the floor, to the ground? We're on a dirt floor here. And that is 39 inches to the bottom. And you add 5 inches to the top, so that would be 44 inches from here to the ground, 39 from here down to there. The next thing I want to talk about is this little guard to prevent her kicking the bucket over. This little board is 38 inches long, and it's not that wide, but it can be as wide as you need it to be. It's 3.5 inches wide. These brackets hold that board, and from the ground, they're about 5 inches from the bottom of the screw. So after the cow steps in and you lock her head in the head gate, I just slide that through both of them. And there's a little bit of room on either side. And that's it. So after the cow comes in, you slide this in, and then this is a really good way to keep her from kicking your buckets on. Okay, the next I just want to talk about the basic vertical infrastructure of our stanchion. So the board sits on the floor, the bottom of the board sits on the floor. We don't have a platform. And then it goes up to the rafters in the barn. And I'll just come a little closer. It's pointless to give you measurements because I don't know how high your barn is, but this board here just attached to a rafter up there, and then he put a couple of strong horizontal ones up there, and just made sort of lots of reinforcements up there. On the front, it's the same thing. This vertical thing went all the way up to the ceiling. Okay. He made a nice strong horizontal, right, that went the whole length of it, and he did the same thing in there, and then a small horizontal that went between the two side rails. Now this is the space between the wall and the stanchion. Your stanchion could be free in a room, a big room, it doesn't, or outside, whatever, but in this barn, just make sure when you place a stanchion that you give yourself lots of room to get on both sides of your cow. Just say you have a medical problem on this side. A stanchion is a great way to contain them briefly while you fix something. Or you can milk from, if you have 2 milkers, 2 people can sit on either side. This distance is 32 inches. So that's plenty of room for getting in, and lots of elbow room here. Okay, this is the floor. We are just using a dirt floor. So these floor things have a piece of rebarb driven into the soil and attached to this board here. And it's the same length as the side rails. And it just gives some support to both of these vertical things by being inside there. So there's a piece of rebarb there, and there's a piece of rebarb there. So feed bucket, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to measure just about how far that is from the wall. This one has hooks on it, on a board, and that's screwed at the top. So the distance between this and the head gate is about 20 inches. That gives lots of room for her head to come in, and she has lots of room to eat here. The one thing you might want to consider is putting it a little lower. We have a cement wall, which made it really difficult to do that. But in the event that your cow, say, went down and couldn't get up, this has to come off in order for her to throw her head up and get up on her front feet. So the distance from this to here is 20 inches. That's good. And the height of this from the floor to the top of the board is about 34 inches. And it could be a little bit lower. And I think it should be a little bit lower. We put these little side rails here so that someone couldn't sneak in and eat from this direction, that she has to come into the stanchion and put her head here. So now let's have a look at that head gate. There's the bottom, and there's the top. And I want to give you the measurements for all of that. We'll start at the bottom. Okay. So there's 3 pieces of wood here. 1, 2, 3. So across. The inside one goes to the inside board, which is 29 inches. The outside one goes to the outside of this board, so it's 33 inches. You want at least one side of your head gate to rock. We decided to keep this one solid. Okay, so there's 3 little pieces in between them. The first one is about 5 inches. It could be a little bit bigger. It could be 6. It could be 6 inches, and you don't really need that much to rock it. So that could be 6 inches, I would think would be perfect. And then each of these on the side here is 7 inches. 7 inches for that block. Yeah, 7 inches for that block. And this should be 6. Okay. Then we're going to move. Oh, I wanted to show you the nuts and bolts here. Oops. So it's a little dark. So that's just a long pin with threads on it, and a couple of a nut, and you know, a couple of those in a nut and a long thread. And in the front, right, it's got a smooth top. And I don't know if you can see in there, but anyway, yeah. We like the height of this head gate. So from the ground, the top of it is 21 inches, and the bottom is at 15 and a half. This is a 5-inch board. So, yeah. So it starts at 15, 16 feet. It starts at 15, 16 inches off the ground. This. Now the length of these is next. As you can see, one is higher than the other, and we just made that higher so there's something to grab, although that's not necessary because I just grab it here. But I just thought if I needed to, you had somebody really upset, it would be nice to have a way to get your hand out of the way. But basically these boards are, I'll measure from the back. They're sitting in these holes that you've created with these 3 boards, and they should be at least 52 inches long. So 52 inches. This one is 57 because we've added an extra 5 inches, but 52 inches. And it comes right to the top here. I can feel it right here at the top. So now we'll look at the upper head gate. Okay. This board is identical in length to the board on the lower,
and the same with the outside one. They're both exactly the same dimensions as the lower head gate, as this two. It's the same as this one going on the inside, and this one that's attached to the outside of the vertical corners. The things that are going to change is the size of these two here. So let's have a look. Okay, so now we're above it, and this first one on the head gate that is stationary, this one doesn't move, is the same as the one below, and I believe that's 7 inches. The next one over is the same. It's 7 inches here. Okay. What the difference is, you need to have a range. You need to have a good range for this head gate to go completely like that. So this gap here is quite a bit bigger, and this little thing is only an inch, inch and a half here. So you've just got to make sure that when your gate is open, she's got enough room to get her head in. So how do you lock the head gate? We have a little, this here, with a couple of pins, I forget what they're called, and it's a threaded, like a flat end pin that my husband drilled a hole up here for a pin to fit through there, and one here. So the pin can fit through there, and I simply, when I close the gate, that just goes through there, okay? And then the pin just goes through here. And she can't get it open. So it's pretty easy. But you can use whatever works for you. So last but not least, what's the distance between these when they're closed? Okay, so the distance between when these are standing closed tight, they're 14 inches. They're 14 inches when they're closed from here to here, okay? 14 inches. And the space when they're closed around the cow's neck is 7.5 inches. This is about where her neck is. Now, when it's open, okay, the top there. And I believe that's 13. It's 14 inches right at the top open, and of course, it gets smaller as it comes down, right? But at the top, it's 14 inches from here to here, and it's 7.5 right where her neck goes in. So here's the head rail, the bottom of the side rail, and this is where I milk from. So I have a seat, and I use a milk carton in this case, and I sit on the milk carton, and I can just gently just put my head under this and milk, right? It's because I'm low enough. And I put my bucket on a little stool, a little white plastic stool from a dollar store or whatever. And it keeps, so if it keeps that up closer to the udder, and I can reach my head under here. So I find this is a great stanchion. It works really well. We put a lot of thought into it, and I kind of wanted to share it in case you just wanted to pop one in. As you can see, we don't have a platform. The whole barn floor is dirt, and we just decided we're just going to leave it like that, and it just works really good. Holds her in well. She loves getting in here. We feed her as we milk. So that's that. 2 weeks and 2 days since Clarabelle was completely stopped milking her. And I think there's an adequate drying up. Her udder seems quite, floppy, and she's much more playful and wants to run around. She has not been with Thule for some time, and over this 16 days. So today we're going to let them out together, and hopefully she won't nurse her mother. If she does, we'll have to separate them for a bit longer. Here goes. Okay, Clarabelle, you first. Thanks for the lick. And Thule, woohoo! You coming out? Come on out. You don't smell any milk, do ya? You don't smell any milk. Oh, she's checking it out. Uh-oh. Hi, Julie. Here's what's going on a couple days after we put her with her mother. Her nose paddles back in. She started nursing from her later in the afternoon. We watched really carefully all day, and her mother, Clarabelle, even kicked at her to get her away from her udder, but by late afternoon, her mother decided to let milk down or start generating milk, and there was milk in the udder, at least the hind ends. And I'm not sure Thule drank a whole lot, but she was certainly, if they smell milk in there, she certainly would probably try to drink from her. I know she tried sort of all day, but her mother kind of gave her the boot. But so now she is the most difficult calf to wean, I think. She just really wants her mother's milk. But anyway, with the little nose paddle in another couple of weeks, at least she can be with her mother, and we'll get her mother's udder to dry up again, and we'll try it again. If that doesn't work, we'll pretty much have to keep them separated until Clarabelle has her calf in early July, and they'll just have to suck that up. Hey, Thule, you made it really, really hard, didn't ya? She was in heat yesterday, so we listened to frantic mooing all day long. But anyway, I'm going to let them out together now, and they can have their little play. You first, Big Mama. There. Okay. You want to come out to us? Come on out.